is Grzegorz, and I would like to tell you something about launching a new product on Atlassian Marketplace, why it makes sense to do it now. Let me tell you a few words about myself. I'm not a product manager, but I might be using some of PM terminology. My goal is to make you excited about the emerging opportunities on the Atlassian Marketplace. I was part of the Jira team at Atlassian since 2013, but after 2019, I started working for marketplace vendors, first Spartes and now Appfire. I was involved in development of many apps, and I'm doing a lot of data-driven researches about the market. I enjoy to be part of the Atlassian community. I'm also the author of Whiteboards app, the initial idea, implementation, and a successful launch. You are a programmer. You know how to create useful things, make them look nice, and promote them. You are going to learn about Marketplace, the platform, and the customer lifecycle. It may feel complex, but please trust me, it is interesting and fun. But what's most important, you have dreams and you are ready for an adventure. Atlassian Marketplace is a unique way to sell products to millions of users. It gives you a platform. It solves a lot of problems for you, like billing, for example. It gives you a customer base willing to install and pay for apps. It is an obvious action for Atlassian customers. That's not always the case in other ecosystems. Marketplace comes with a network of resellers and a vocal community of users. Finally, Marketplace is backed up with passion and dedication of Atlassian employees. During my presentation, I will be using some keywords, Marketplace vendor jargon. Let me quickly explain meaning of the most popular terms. Customers own a license to one of Atlassian products, for example, Jira, Confluence, or Bitbucket. Vendors, partners, resellers, experts, those are professionals or entire companies who provide services to customers on the marketplace. Server and data center are the self-hosted versions of Atlassian products. Cloud means that the product is hosted by Atlassian. Connect is the old extension platform to cloud. Forge is a new platform recently added to cloud. Customers are in the process of migration from self-hosted to cloud. This is a big and a still ongoing change. The last group of keywords is much easier to explain on a diagram. The customer journey starts from a visit on the marketplace atlassian.com website. The visitor may be converted into a lead to in-product marketplace inside one of the Atlassian products like Jira or Confluence. A lead can convert into an evaluator. After 30 days, the evaluator can purchase a commercial license and start paying for your app in monthly or yearly cycles. The fun and rewarding moment is the sale, when someone decides to pay for your work. The cancellation, churn, and uninstalls are equally important. We want to learn what was the reason for that. Maybe this will be something you can improve. Statistics of each step are the fun part as well. You want to keep an eye on them. Each one can be improved in various ways. There are many differences and similarities between Forge and Connect, but it all boils down to this aspect: who is responsible for running the app? On the old Connect platform, you would be responsible for running the app yourself, while on the new platform, it is Atlassian running it. In my presentation, I'm focusing on the custom UI, which means you are your own implementation of the front end. That's quite similar for Forge and Connect, but there is a difference. In Forge, it is Atlassian hosting your front end, while in Connect, you have to do it yourself. Later, I will explain why Forge is better from the customer perspective and what are the benefits for the developer. Majority of businesses on Marketplace make their living out of server and data center apps. They are well established, born many years ago. Majority of apps are still on the self-hosted platform or using Connect in the cloud. On the other hand, Atlassian is pushing for cloud and promotes Forge, which is free of charge for now. Partners, on the other hand, cannot invest into new platforms without sacrificing their current customer needs, because hiring is hell right now. and they cannot hire enough of new people. Atlassian is being told by customers that the current cloud architecture with Connect platform is preventing them from migration from server to cloud. Customers have also other good reasons, and I will explain them later. Majority of vendors is yet to get there, because this means an extra effort, which takes time and resources. And that's where the opportunity is. As a newcomer, you can start your journey from Forge and do not think about the old platforms at all. Such clean start will be your competitive advantage. In other words, there is a niche and a moment, but the question is, how can you exploit this opportunity? I would like to explain 3 steps on how to get from the initial research through execution and launch to long-term success on Marketplace. I will try to answer the most fundamental questions: what to build and how to build. We will have a look at one of proven launch strategies on the Marketplace. Finally, I will cover the topic of monetization and costs. The process of Marketplace launch is divided into a few stages. The most important question to answer is what we are going to build. We need to define a target niche for our app. Once we see the niche, we need to look at the competitors, understand their weak spots, and think where we can fit with our offer. Then I will show you how to successfully execute on an idea. The actual launch of an app is the most exciting part. You will see users coming in. Your idea comes to life. Eventually, the goal is to monetize and think how to turn it into a sustainable business which can serve its customers in long term. My goal with this presentation is to convince you that this process can take only a few months. In case of one of my apps, it took half a year to become profitable. The steps mentioned on the previous slides are big topics and could take many months or even years to perform in a perfect way. My suggestion is to not overthink. Do not search for a perfect app idea or spend a lot of time on non-critical details during the implementation. I will show you a few suggestions how to save time, make good and fast decisions, and do not sacrifice the quality. We are looking for an existing app, or even better, a cluster of apps with many installations, but still living on the old platform. Ideally, if it is missing cloud deployment, or its cloud version is implemented with Atlassian Connect, or the app depends on an external service. We are looking for vendors offering somewhat disappointing user experience. It should be backed up with negative reviews. The app should be useful for a lot of people in the organization, ideally majority, or alternatively, it should fulfill the needs of Jira and Confluence admins. It also makes sense to consider the build once, sell multiple times strategy. The functionality should work for multiple products from the Atlassian portfolio. Please also consider the Atlassian marketing message. A recent example is asset management. Quite a few asset management apps were launched since 2020 when Atlassian started promoting this topic, and they are successful today. You can piggyback on it as well. Ideally, if the app is useful outside of Marketplace, in another ecosystem, or even as a standalone app. Once you see your target, it should trigger an idea in your mind on how to solve the same problem in a simple and cheap way. Knowing that, you can start thinking about the design and execution. The process of design is a matter of understanding your competitors and the users. Your app may look very similar to the competitors because very often there is only one way to solve the same business problem, and there is no need to reinvent the wheel and invest time into alternative user experience. Think about cars, for example. They all have 4 wheels and a windshield. Your main advantage will be the technology and the platform. Forge will impose new limits and open new possibilities. It is evolving. Atlassian is investing a lot into it, and you will benefit from that a lot. This will be your competitive advantage against the old apps. This is a popular problem among marketplace apps. They deliver a functionality, it solves a problem, but they are not known in the organization. On the other hand, customers are asking themselves a question: why we should pay for this app? How many people are using it? Is it worth it? Users can discover your app through one of the placements in the product, and your app should be present on those placements. This promotion is free of charge. Your app should make sense on those placements. The goal is not to spam the user. So let's reverse this logic. If your app is not compatible with those placements, maybe you are exploring a wrong idea for an app. One of the goals is to make your app popular among users on Atlassian side, I mean both Jira and Confluence. You can display a notification informing all the users about the app, invite them to use it. There are a few ways to achieve that. Background script on Jira page, footer panel in Confluence, or a dynamic module. Pages on Confluence and the Jira issue view are the most important entities in the Atlassian cloud. That's where the user is doing their work. That's the moment when they can discover your app. And you should leverage this fact. Growth loops. Interaction between users can drive even more traffic to your app. User activity should engage more users and generate even more user activity. Last but not least, consider creating a freemium experience for your app so that users don't uninstall it immediately after end of evaluation if they decide to not pay. Let them use a limited functionality for free. They may change their mind in future. Those are example ideas on how to increase the number of users on your app per customer. Now let's move to the execution phase. I would like to emphasize on this aspect. Getting users on your app as soon as possible. Early feedback is invaluable. In other words, it means you should get your core experience up and running. You can show that to a friend or workmate. It should already solve the business problem. This might be considered as an ambitious goal, but it will guide your other decisions, including the technical ones. I suggest to regularly ask yourself a question. Does this help me to get my first user? You need to lean on existing components and libraries as much as possible. It will help you short term and also in the long term. We are programmers, and programming is our passion. But in this case, we want to put our energy on something else. In the beginning, ideally, if you could implement entire functionalities through external libraries. In the long run, it will pay off, as long as those libraries are actively maintained. The downside of such approach is that sometimes you need to adjust the user experience to those components. It means some kind of imperfection, but if it solves the problem, that's totally fine and acceptable. As a programmer, I prefer to do first-party development. I want to have control. I don't like to be in an iframe. So why I'm a fan of Atlassian Forge? Running a production app costs money and energy, while Forge removes the cost and solves a lot of problems for me. I have experience running production apps on various platforms like custom hardware, Heroku, AWS, GCP, or Firebase. I know how time-consuming it can be and how many bad decisions can be made in the process of initial design and later down the road. In case of Forge, it is Atlassian bootstrapping the structure of the app and providing infrastructure. That's an advantage you can easily gain, while competition will still have to pay the operational tax. Atlas Kit is a React UI library you can use to quickly build UI for your app. It will have Atlassian native look and feel, because that's what Atlassian is using internally for all the products. And that's what the users are familiar with. UI libraries are a controversial topic. I have witnessed lack of sympathy towards them among my colleagues at work. Their custom needs are not satisfied. They need something else. They want to optimize their user experience. It makes sense for mature products and teams. In case of a new product, we want to accept the imperfections for the sake of having most of our problems solved. Think about maintenance, bug fix, adding new features, accessibility, performance, browser compatibility, and many other problems. Let's lean on that, gain some speed, and launch faster. Atlassian Forge exists because that's what customers want. Customers want Atlassian to run apps and be responsible for them. Customers do not want app vendors to host and own user data. Customers want to be in control of their environment. Yes, this is driven by customer needs, enterprise customers in particular. Those customers will be the main source of your income. So please, make no mistake, Forge is the future of Atlassian Cloud, because there is a good reason for that. Another important aspect of execution is local development, and I mean a 100% local development of an app. This means first-party development without iframes. That's the most efficient environment for front-end development. While working on one of my apps for Jira Cloud, I have noticed an opportunity. I can take majority of my code, refactor it a bit, and run as a standalone application. I could still use the same code base to run my app inside Jira Cloud in an iframe. That's the approach I would like to recommend. I will explain it in detail and with examples in a moment. Later, I will also explain why it makes sense to grow a standalone app from a business perspective. I will not go deep into details of Forge development tools because this topic is covered by the documentation, tutorials, and many great examples. I will also share with you source code of one of my apps, but I want to mention the main difference between a standalone app development and Forge. In Forge, your actual development environment is the Atlassian product like Jira or Confluence, and your app is displayed in an iframe. The changes you do are transmitted to the infrastructure using a tunnel. You can also deploy a snapshot of your app at any moment. This setup works. In case of some ideas, actually this is the only option, but for front-end development, the standalone app approach will give you a faster dev loop. One of the examples I like to use is lack of support for iframes in React DevTools. And while they are not mandatory for development, they make it easier and faster. It is possible to use React DevTools in browser while doing the front-end development in Forge. It is not possible, but it is because it is using iframes to run apps. That's the example of situation where the idea of standalone app development will help you. We are developing an app for Atlassian Forge, but still we want to split our app into layers and create abstractions. The goal is to be able to develop the app in a fully local environment and later deploy it to Forge. I will show you an example in a moment, but I would like to start from a high-level overview. Majority of your code will be written in a platform-agnostic frontend. Think about a React app, which communicates with a backend, but this backend can be provided either by Forge or by yourself, for example, as a simple Node.js application. In this layer, this is only an abstraction, which will be later provided in one of the environments. Forge provides runtime environment for your frontend, which is executed in an iframe, and the backend, which is executed in the Atlassian infrastructure. It also gives you access to Atlassian APIs. Your development environment, on the other hand, will execute the frontend as a first-party app, which will implement the abstraction using a Node.js application, for example. This may be difficult with some ideas for an app, but you should prioritize ideas which are compatible with such approach because those are easier to develop and it will take less time to launch them. Let's have a look at this example. This interface is used on the front end. It defines two methods. we don't know at this point how they will be provided. This is the mocked user service. It is communicating with local backend, which is a very basic Node.js application with an in-memory store. The application behaves similar to Forge API. It returns data in the same format. Forge user service is using the actual Forge APIs. It will communicate with the platform. Finally, we get this React hook, which is part of the platform agnostic frontend. It will call the user service, which will be provided by one of the environments. This is an example Forge app I created a while ago. It is not commercial, and it is open source. You can find the source code on my GitHub account. It allows users to talk to each other and share screen directly inside Jira tickets. You can see the same functionality in two different environments. First one is the local host. This is my primary development environment. That's what I'm using when writing majority of the code. On the right, this is a screenshot from Jira, where the app is deployed using Forge. This approach can be applied to Atlassian Connect apps as well. It is also helpful in migration from Connect to Forge because it allows you to maintain the same code base while transitioning between platforms. I recommend having a look on this repository on GitHub to better understand this setup. I could talk about technicalities all day long because it is fun. But now I want to change topic. Let's talk about the launch. Launch is an exciting moment because you can see how your idea comes to life. You will feel the adrenaline rush. As you hope for success, you will start looking at the metrics, conversion rates, support requests, and user feedback. But before this happens, let's stop for a moment and think how we can make the launch more successful. How to give the best chance of success to the outcomes of your hard work. There are many strategies and ways to launch an app, but I will show you two of them, including the one I use myself and consider to be the most efficient. I will be using real data of real apps. This is a chart of installations of an example app, which was launched as a paid app. It is a great product. The authors are doing great on many fields, including marketing, but they are yet to reach 1,000 installs. They could help themselves in the beginning using the strategy I will describe now. On this chart, you can see the number of installs of a real app that was launched a while ago. I have no connection to this app, except observing it during my researches. This product started as a free app, accumulated hundreds of active installations, gathered lots of user feedback, and after a while converted to a paid app. Some portion of the users started evaluations, and after a month decided to pay for the product. Another part decided to uninstall the app, but this is expected. Growth rate of free apps is several times bigger, and it will take only a dozen of weeks to get hundreds of installs. As a result, you have an app which is marked as paid and pretends to have a lot of customers, even though most of those installations did not ever start an evaluation. Still, this will drive even more customers, while a significant amount of existing installation may decide to pay for your product. This strategy is popular among marketplace vendors, and they are successful on it. It makes sense. Also, outside of Atlassian, in other ecosystems where usage metrics and reviews are public. Setting up the price is one of very important aspects of marketplace business. My suggestion is to not overthink this topic and simply stay close to your competitors. A very low price may not give you any advantage, and also it may work as a yellow flag for potential customers. Don't worry, you can modify the price later down the road. Now I want to share with you some high-level observations about the marketplace. Application search optimization is the most viable marketing tactic. It means you are looking for high traffic or high value keywords and position yourself on top of other apps. Very often, this is as simple as using single keywords from competitor names, but the goal is to discover keywords with small number of competitors. It is an ongoing process, and it can give you a lot of satisfaction. The great plus of Marketplace is that you don't need to have budget for marketing. Paid ads, retargeting, email marketing, and other traditional techniques. Yes, those can improve your growth rate, but you can be successful without them. I wouldn't recommend spending time on cross-sell on the marketplace. If you already have apps which are somewhat close to each other, you may think that advertising your app to users of another app is a good idea. In my opinion, and given my experience, this is simply not effective and not worth the time invested into it. The truth is that the majority of your growth will be generated by Atlassian. New customers appear on Atlassian Cloud every day, and they are looking for apps. Your goal is to be ready with an offer. Long story short, initially, fight for every evaluator. Long term, have a great product. That's what works on the marketplace. Vendors on the Atlassian Marketplace always dreamed about setting up their own standalone business. This makes sense. They don't want to pull all eggs into one basket. They want to diversify their income, even though the marketplace provides a lot of comfort. I like this dream, but I want to show you a bit different perspective. Atlassian Marketplace is unique. Other ecosystems are not so attractive. Either they do not offer billing out of the box and you have to build it yourself, or they do not offer good growth rate and you need to invest a lot into marketing. Let's think about the standalone version of our app from a different perspective. How it can help you grow on the marketplace. The usual problem of Atlassian users is that they cannot try the app without approval of the administrator. They have a need, a problem, and they search for a solution on the marketplace. Once they find it, they ask the administrator to install. It takes time, and a rejection is very likely. And the bigger the organization is, the chances of install are decreasing. This is a downside of Marketplace, but there is a creative solution to this problem. That's why you should consider building an OAuth 2 app. Let users play with your app instantly, without approvals. OAuth 2 app is a standalone application which can be granted permission by the user to access one of Atlassian products. Those users, if they are happy about the experience, may want to put it into Jira or Confluence and install the Forge app, and this is the goal. You should look for ideas that make sense as an OAuth 2 app. Abstractions will make it easier to implement it in the same code base as your Forge app. Also, if your app works outside of iframe, why limit yourself to Atlassian? Give yourself a chance. Maybe an opportunity is just around the corner. This presentation is coming to an end. I would like to do a recap of all the aspects of Marketplace launch. The most important decision is what to build. The execution and launch will be the same regardless of the initial idea. There are many factors you should take into account. You won't be able to maximize on all of them. I suggest to avoid ideas that are not feasible at all on some of the aspects. For example, if you are completely not passionate about the topic, or the app completely does not make sense outside of Atlassian, you should look for a better idea. Consider exploring multiple ideas and actually executing on them, one after another. You never know when one will become more successful. Sometimes the reason why app becomes successful is beyond your control and can change overnight. For example, the announcement of pandemic and remote work, or some major product change at Atlassian. That's when the magic happens. After all those informations, you may wonder, how do I start? I suggest to start from Atlassian developer website. This is a great resource, and it is evolving. It will guide you through all these steps, starting from a Hello World app. The final question is, should I build the app inside my organization in a sort of skunkworks mode, or quit and form a startup? The first option means working after hours or part-time. On the other hand, as a startup, you will be working 24 hours, 7 days per week. As a startup, you have a great chance to fail, while an existing organization will be your safety net. In case of success, as a startup, you get all rewards. You will move fast solo, but you may experience problem with hiring, while existing organization, theoretically, may be able to invest into your app, add people to your team, provide expertise, funds for marketing and hiring. On the other hand, as a startup, you don't really need a budget to start on the marketplace. It depends on personal objectives and preferences. I can use myself as an example. Today, I would prefer skunkworks because I want to make impact, and it is compatible with my personal life. While 15 years ago, when I was young, I would accept the risk and aim for a high reward. I think both options are exciting. It is up to you, either way, or maybe another. Find a way to dream, develop, and win. Thanks for watching.